My name is Diane Jake Long. I am a resident of Burnham. I've grown up there. My family has lived in that area since time immemorial. Our old tradition tells us my clan, the way I identify myself, derives from that area. There's a place called Chihagede, and that in Navajo means place where the red sand is dug out. Sheep herders, during the summertime, they rub red sand over on their cheeks to avoid sunburn. It becomes apparent that I'm Lashe, which means red cheeks. So that's the way I identify myself, because my great-great-grandfathers or my ancestors applied this red sand from the Desert Rock area onto their faces, and we became that. It is for these reasons we oppose Desert Rock. We refuse to have our connections to that area cut off. For us, this is a cultural battle against our Navajo Nation government.
Scythe Global Power LLC, based in Houston, Texas, and Diné Power Authority, a Navajo Nation enterprise, are together proposing to develop and construct the Desert Rock Energy Project at the present cost estimate of $3.7 billion. This proposed plant is on a 592-acre parcel approximately 30 miles southwest of Farmington in San Juan County, New Mexico, and is entirely on trust lands within the Navajo Nation. Desert Rock is a mouth-mine, supercritical, low-sulfur, pulverized coal-fired electrical power plant comprised of two 750-megawatt units and would generate up to 1,500 megawatts of power. The environmental impact statement concludes that it is the Navajo people who will bear the brunt of any negative effects, including more pollution, haze, and disturbed land.
The Desert Rock project is a catalyst. It's going to bring in the dollars, not just in terms of taxes and revenues and water payments and fees, but also in terms of building an investment strategy and an investment mechanism so that we do have ownership. And through ownership, we'll have dividend income, which is a second tier of revenue. We don't have that right now. We're being a little more sophisticated about our approach to how we develop our economy, how we use our resources, and that's what Desert Rock's about.
We've had over 400 meetings on the Navajo Nation over the last 4 years, talking one-on-one with individuals with chapters about the project, and we listen. So some of the things we've heard are concerns about use of water. This is a desert environment, and water is a precious commodity, and it's a sacred commodity to Navajos. So we made a decision to go with a air-cooled power plant, which reduces water consumption 80 to 85% from a wet plant. We had concerns expressed about regional haze and mercury, and that's why we did our voluntary air mitigation agreement to address some of those concerns.
We do listen to their concerns. The $50 million will go to alleviate a lot of social ills in the nation, but there's also the need of the other 250,000 Navajos that are on the nation. It's just that the leadership has to make a determination on here what is for the betterment of the nation as a whole.
I worked in Crown Point. I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time on a mesa. You can see the San Juan Mountains, you can see Shiprock, but on many days you can't see them because they're obscured by a thick blanket of yellow-brown smog that comes from the two coal-fired power plants in the Four Corners. We know that power plants release large amounts of sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and ozone. We know that these pollutants have been definitively linked to heart attacks, asthma, strokes, birth defects. 24,000 Americans die each year from the emissions from coal plants, more people than are killed by drunk driving. A study that was commissioned by the US EPA determined that pollution from New Mexico's existing coal plants caused approximately 1,000 asthma attacks, 62 heart attacks, and 39 deaths each year. These aren't just numbers. They represent real people. Real people are affected by our continued use of dirty coal. The company is still planning to use 19th century pulverized coal technology. This plant each year will still release 12 million tons of carbon dioxide, 3,300 tons of sulfur dioxide, 161 pounds of mercury, 3,300 tons of nitrogen oxides, 1,600 tons of particulate matter. Putting scrubbers on this old technology and calling it clean is like putting a filter on a cigarette and saying it won't cause lung cancer. Is there justice in building a fourth coal plant in one of the lowest income states in the United States, in a state where half the people are people of color, where the power will be exported to Las Vegas and Phoenix, but the price will be paid by the health of the people of New Mexico? Is there justice in this?
The cheapest form of electricity is efficiency improvements. And Scythe Global doesn't see it that way because their business is selling coal-generated power plants. But they're only looking at the internalized costs. They're not looking at the social costs, for example, of global warming. This plant is perhaps 8 or 10 times more efficient than the plants that it will be replacing. But efficiency improvements have none of those negative consequences. The companies that are coming in, buying the coal, selling the power, are keeping the lion's share of the profits for themselves. And although they will give some money to the Navajo people, it'll be for a limited period of time. And as the Navajo take ownership of this project, there may be a long tail that will come back to bite them. They could be looking at a cost as high as $300 million a year or more to pay for the carbon that they're emitting into the atmosphere. What's missing is a long-range plan for how to convert from selling natural resources to selling value-added, culturally enhanced products. Scythe Global is proposing to invest $3 billion in this plant and create 200 jobs. The wind industry in the United States invested $3 billion last year and created 18,000 jobs. Now, many of those are manufacturing jobs. So if the Navajo were to look at something like making wind turbines or making solar panels or making concentrated solar collectors in order to not only to supply power based on the Navajo Nation, but to supply technologies to a broader community, they'd be on the leading edge of the developing economy rather than on the trailing edge of the dying economy.
I'm trying to live on the Mother Earth, to live right for my people, my grandkids, my kids. And the Navajo tribe, they really tell us, the money is going to go back in the winter rock. I don't think so. Now I start telling people, I say, hey, wake up. What about the air? What about the water? I say, I don't want a power plant. Though that doesn't rock.
You know, we believe in the respect principle that you're meant to respect all aspects of life, all living things, and respect our, the spiritual deities who exist in certain places, like Desert Rock. It's about applying the values that we have from the past to the future, which includes conservation, sustainable development, respect for our elders, and listening to what each individual has to say about projects such as Desert Rock. I am defined by the land in Desert Rock and with the expanding coal mine. How do I define myself in the future? How do our generations from now define themselves in the future if they can't have that direct connection?